Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Index podcast, where we come together every couple of weeks to discuss on-chain data, chart crimes, and metrics that move the crypto industry. Today, I have with me Hildobby, resident data house elf at Dragonfly,
Hello, everyone.
Denning, chief on-chain sleuth at Pantera Capital,
Hi.
and I am Boxer, and I am the community powers at Dune. Before we start, nothing we say here should be relied upon as legal, financial, investment, tax, or even life advice. We are acting independently of our respective professional roles. And with that, today we're going to talk about a topic that once was trendy, is trendy in a different form now, but Danny will be able to explain all of that to us. We're talking about agentic trading. Maybe I think high level, I genuinely just never really engaged with these. I was always like kind of taken aback, not really thought it was too interesting. But apparently it might actually be interesting to some people, since Denning and her team constructed a report. But Denning, you tell us.
Yeah, I feel like this was such a big topic like a year and a half ago. I feel like we had one podcast episode in the backlog. It was like, let's talk about virtuals and others. And when I feel like AI or ChatGPT was getting kind of like crazy hype and people are starting to experiment putting LLM models or like trying to basically build product sets branded as that, hey, we're going to use this agentic trading functionality now, help you to make DeFi investment. And various products came up. Some people, like some products promise that like they're going to do automatic rebalancing of your wallets, rewards from the staking projects, and they're going to put this money, swap it out, restake into your total vaults, something like that. Not restake, but like add up the, like the amount to your vaults. Like a lot of things like that. The most symbolic projects is probably AI16Z and Virtuals. So they are the two biggest projects that lives in two different ecosystems. Virtuals is on Base, AI16Z is on Solana. But overall, there aren't really just a project living in one blockchain. They both end up like trying to build a framework that's open source for anyone else to deploy agents on top of them. For people who haven't really looked into this kind of products, we can get an idea of like what is it trying to do, or at least what tells the user what they're trying to do. So, for example, Eliza actually lands at like a more framework view to help you like, hey, this is our tool set for you to deploy agents. But it also had basically like a website where, okay, this actually goes to Discord. I think maybe Virtuals is more straightforward. It says it's a society of AI agents with its own GDP. There's some storytelling there. You can go into the protocol page. You can see there's a bunch of AI agents that's trendy, but they also looks like basically like tokens you can buy. For example, this first one, XMAQ UI, and I don't know, XMAQUINA, and it has a token that's called DUS. And so basically you decide based on some description here of what the AI agents promise it's doing and like what the team is behind and like what's the tokenomics for this token going to look like. And you decide if you want to buy this token. And the thing that's like slightly different between Virtuals and the AI16Z is that on the platform of AI16Z, you can basically just buy the token with USDC or ETH, I forgot. With USDC or so, I believe. And but on Virtual, you kind of need to convert it through virtual token. So you kind of have to onboard through virtual token. But really, basically, all these platforms, if you talk about like AI agentic trading platform, what you expect is that, okay, there might be a lot of agentic components there, but at the end of the day, is kind of like a meme coin launchpad, if we're being honest here. So that's kind of like the main conclusion that we landed on after doing a survey across like 1,000 projects. Well, of course, a lot of them are like scraping the data, trying to categorize, analyzing them. But we also did like a in-depth survey looking at the AUM numbers, and also like we talked to Eliza team and also virtual team to get more details. So basically, we kind of like come up with this summary survey. We call
What
this.
do you mean by survey when like you're just kind of
Yeah,
polling like states on chain, or you actually talking to people like
yeah. So for like a large amount of like 1,900 AI tag crypto projects, we were mostly like scraping the data, trying to summarize it, looking at like the project's aspect, like are they actually providing agentic trading functionality, or are they just saying it but just launching a meme coin platform kind of. And then for 11 of them, we were like trying to account their own chain data using their treasury wallet, using their like token, and like trying to calculate their P&L. Out of the two significant project, which is Virtual and Eliza, we talked to their developers as well. They're the both founders, just to verify some of the assumption we have collected from data set. And we also looked at like 10 projects on top of the 11 projects on top of the Eliza framework that's on Solana, just simply because like the tokenomics is slightly easier to account without, because as I was mentioning earlier, like you don't have to onboard through like AI16D token. You can just simply look at the project's treasury wallet and trying to account their P&L and their users' P&L without worrying about like if they're holding virtuals and like how much are they converting or not. So yeah, like out of the 10 projects that we surveyed in depth using on-chain data, only 3 of them actually provide some sort of like, I don't even know if you can call it agentic, but like they're actually actively executing trades with the money in their treasury wallet. Like, so there is some sort of on-chain execution that's happening. This is like Accelrod. This is Eliza. Accelrod is from Virtuals framework. Eliza himself. There's another one called Alpha Arena, which is very interesting. We can get into deeper with some other charts provided by that team. But basically, the other agents that we looked into, we can't find any evidence that they're trading on chain or like doing anything on chain. So it's kind of like a marketing stunt end of the day. So here, for example, is the 10 project, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 10 projects that we kind of actually looked into their on-chain wallets, like trying to track them on chain. Some of them promise like passive yield strategy where they will autonomously move your money around across yields vaults, or like move around, like whenever their yield goes higher, they will change to the vaults. And Giza is another one, promise like passive DeFi strategy yield. They can allocate your money across different places. Many such projects, but yeah, we were only able to find just a few that was like actually finding transactions on chain that was making trades. But yeah, that was basically pretty much like a good learning practice for us to understand how all these agentic framework are promising and what they're actually doing. We like by looking at this P&L analysis, you kind of realize like the economics is pretty detached. So one data question here I was looking into is to basically figure out like, did the platform make money, or basically like did the AI16D or Eliza made money, and did the user on top of their platform made money, right? So to do that, you have to define P&L for user and also the platform. And so like a few basic data metrics to start with is that you have to find basically the treasury wallet for this platform that they're holding the tokens and portfolios for. And on top of that, the users are buying all kinds of token that is being that's being issued, and actually like holding the AI16D token. So basically, like for example, for the AI16D projects that I was looking at, to be clear, users are holding the AI16D token. The platform themselves, they may buy the token. Sorry, they may buy the AI agented token their agents are issuing on their platform, or they may hold like or anything else. So if you calculate the P&L okay, P&L is also a very gnarly thing to deal with. Basically, the best way or standard way to do P&L is you have to account realized P&L and also the unrealized P&L. So imagining you have wallet, you're holding some token, you might sell some, you might buy some, and every sell and buy, you have to basically account that what was your cost basis when you starting to hold that token early on, and what was the price you were selling at. So what's the realized profit there? And on top of that, the rest of the remaining of your wallet would be unrealized profit, or basically account the value based on today's price. So there's two parts of that. And by accounting all these total P&L, we can basically try to see like, okay, what's the total, like what's the user's P&L and treasury P&L to see, did the user make money or did the platform make money? And so the interesting thing we realize is that the user who are holding those tokens is highly correlated with the narrative, right? So when AI16 was so popular, all the token, like AI16 token was at the peak. And that's when users' total P&L peaked really high. We noticed that there are some users who have like kind of like sold at the top and realized really high total P&L. But there's also a lot of users who held up until like when it kind of died down to almost zero. So when you look at the user's P&L distribution, you then also see this pattern where like, okay, there's like 300K users who have held the token, but the mean value of the P&L was pretty negative for most of these projects, except maybe two. One is Truth Terminal, one is Zero Borrow. But also, yeah, like the value wasn't really big. Oh, sorry, I meant to say median, actually. If you look at the median, mean is the average, right? So like if you look at median, meaning like the 50 percentile of user on average, have they made money or not, it's actually all negative here. So basically most of the user lost money. In terms of the percentage of the profit and percentage of the loss, there's like 20%, 30%-ish like user who had positive, positive P&L wallets across some of the top projects. The maximum made 150 mil P&L, and the minimum is basically the people who lost the most money lost like 75 mil. So it seems pretty crazy. And we noticed in the pattern of like the wallets, which is like, if you were early holding the token, right? Like you kind of, we don't know if you're an insider, but pretty much you hold the token early, you sell at the top, you profit. But majority of people are losing money. So there was like
2 million is quite a big number. Did you like, is this a verified did you find out who this was, or is there like a trading firm behind this, or any speculation, any guesses?
No, we don't really have any clue on who they are. It seemed like it was a token that was holding a bit early. So I don't know if
kind of like got into one of those kind of, I mean, one of those launches very early, or like a few launches.
Yeah,
early, and
it's almost unclear if even like that wallet belongs to like the community wallet or like a founder wallet. But yeah,
is it an outlier? Is it an outlier, or are there many within that range, like just below it, I guess?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like people who made that much money is pretty much outlier. This is actually a chart that kind of answers that, but maybe not specifically, but like we're trying to color.
Zoom into one single one. We can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just like zoom on the legends, but basically like if the super red is people who lost more than $1 million, super green is the people who lost, who gained or who profited more than 1 million. You can see like the dark green is not really visible. So yes, like people who made a lot of money are definitely outlier. But yeah, majority of people like losing zero to $100 or losing $100 to 1,000 is pretty much the majority.
What's the x-axis time?
This is somewhere from like 2024 up until beginning of this year.
Okay, so it's just time.
Yeah, around like a year and a half time, like pretty much the whole cycle.
If you scroll back down, it's like at the beginning people were actually earning money, but then as everything kind of, it got very extractive and things.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
things start
that's
happening
actually
later.
also interesting. Yeah, exactly. Like you enter later, you're kind of like guaranteed to lose money. I don't want to say this, but it's almost like the Ponzi pattern as well. But with all these accusations, I want to say, like, first of all, it's not what the platform's intention is, right? Like they build a platform, they hope actually people deploy the useful agents, and actually there are some like agents, for example, from the survey we learned that like this one called ETHY AI on Virtuals, actually someone has agentic functionality where they use LLM to actually act on actions. So like the platform has good intention. They built the open source framework, hoping to encourage more like experiments on top of it. And they don't have control on what people are doing on those platforms. So it's kind of like permissionless. And so people are launching meme coins, people are trading meme coins. It's kind of like early first generation experiments of AI agents.
Yeah.
And the agentic is just not there really. So yeah, this is kind of just like a reveal of like, yeah, what we thought might be happening is not really what's happening. And so that was kind of like the main point of the article. Now I want to mention another interesting thing called Alpha Arena. So later last year, there was this whole new competition came out, was basically all the latest model in the round. So for example, let me go to their website. So this Alpha Arena is kind of like a competition for all the LLM model to compete on Hyperliquid with $10,000 as a start. I think this is the chart. Yeah. So it's built by this team called N of One, which their founder is called Jay, and they're like aiming to basically build like specialized agentic model or like LLM model that is performing the best for profiting or making investment decisions. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at here, this chart was super interesting and it was live and it was basically showing that there's like ChatGPT, there is DeepSeek, there is Alibaba's Quinn model, there is Claude, and there is Gemini, there's Grok. So all these models were given $10,000 to start with, and so to trade on Hyperliquid, and they all started at 10K and kind of like trended across, like diverged, and a lot of the Western model was like kind of just like losing money all the way down, and the final winner was actually like both the Chinese model. So in the end, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, they all like lost money, ended up with like $4,000, $6,000. But at some point, some of them, like at some point, Claude made a little bit money in October or so. But the best performing one in this test is actually DeepSeek and Quinn. So Quinn was the final winner that made $2,000 profit. So they ended it with a balance with 12,000, and DeepSeek had like 10K balance. So yeah, like I saw a lot of posts that was written by like some Chinese media saying like, like Quinn was the best performing, kind of just basically like talking about why their model is the best. It was very
It'd be
interesting because
it'd be
you
it'd
can
be
see.
interesting to see like this data plotted, like divided by Bitcoin's price variance over that same time frame as like a some crypto index, because
Right.
like you can see some of the movements across all the models are similar, so they likely executed very similar trades, maybe just different risks and different
Yeah.
leverage size, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
as like an index, or more detail on like what strategy each adopted. I think that could be cool. Like what?
Also, the sample size is very
Yeah.
like you would need like 100 instances of each of these models to really run like a scientific test, and also like how well do the harnesses and the model itself kind of like work together, because like it might be that the kind of like the harness that this was put in was just kind of like when did exceptionally well on this harness. So like there's a lots of variables for this. It's still like a super interesting experiment. It's very interesting to see that like one AI even made it to like it actually doubled its money, or like one agent. That's pretty
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah.
interesting to see. But yeah, it's a fun experiment. It's a nice kind of like idea. But yeah, to really like get something out of this, I would much rather have seen, what would this be, like 100 agents with $100 and see what they came up with than one agent with $10,000, because like the directionality of the trades would kind of be the same. But like, I don't know, I would have liked to see that aggregate result and not the one agent doing things over 6 months. But yeah, still very cool.
The funny thing, the interesting part is actually like all these model chats that they're streaming out, almost like the consciousness that was coming out from all these LLM model. They're saying like, oh, I'm holding this token because this and that, and you can see like the chain of thoughts of like how they analyzed all these things. So I feel like that is actually probably more interesting data to feed into in the future, being like, oh, these were all the reasoning, and it ended into this model actually profiting or this model lost. Can you learn anything from there? So, and as you said, like,
it looks like from their like quick read into the chat, looks like they mostly traded non-crypto assets, just equity. I'm seeing like Nvidia,
on
Tesla,
Hyperliquid.
Google. Yeah. But okay, pretty cool. I think like you could even do this experiment across different market segments. So yeah, repeat this, and it's like it's the new sperm race betting, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, I consider this is kind of like a later like 1.5 generation compared to Eliza and Virtuals initial effort. So we've definitely seen like all these things are progressing and like trending towards the right direction more and more. Like they've later also launched a lot more other like interesting experiments, like with different type of like configuration or so. So for example, there's this one called New Baseline. This is to trade U.S. equities using news and sentiment data. Because like the first experiment they did was only feeding basically the price data as time series data as the basically inputs for the model. So the LLM model had to work with basically time series data, which I feel like probably is not at their best. So the newer baseline thing that they were doing is like feeding into more sentimental data, and they were able to trade equities. There's another one called mock mode, which is like, okay, keep the model more conservative and have higher risk, constraints, or like basically lower risk tolerance. Make sure like the portfolio is not gonna like spike too crazy or like lose money too much. There's another one called situational awareness. This is very interesting, but it's not related to the guy. I don't know if you guys are aware of the like the genius young trader in the US stock markets who was buying all these semiconductor and like data center stocks that was like across the AI supply chain.
Leopold
something, yeah.
Aschenbrenner or something.
Yes, with a long German name. Yes, his company called Situational Awareness, but this is different. This is basically feeding all these current model to rank and the P&L of other models and see what the model is gonna do. So they're aware of the competition and maybe they will copy other strategies or maybe adjust their risk tolerance based on rank and also. There's another one called max leverage, which seems like maximizing the capital efficiency and the risk management configuration. So there were some other like ripple effect after it. Like they did some other 1.5 test. They did like some other competition, and they put something in the wrong. That's called like a mysterious model. And a lot of people got triggered by it. People were like, oh, this is a perfect like marketing stunt because you're gonna like reveal later this is your model that is outrunning all the other like best LLM model.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they ever really like revealed that, but a lot of people were saying that yeah. But I'm pretty sure also that was probably the intention. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been looking at in terms of agentic trading. I feel like there's always people pitching about the idea of like training some proprietary financial model, building startup on top of this. Have seen some pitch about that. The paradox though is that like if the trading firm will actually use the model, because like if this is trained by, like I feel like a lot of trading firm probably is training their own prop trading model. And I don't know if they will buy something from external or like even that's like open source or public. Because if so, like what's the edge, right? Like it seems like it won't be their only a proprietary model to compete with others to outperform profits. But yeah, it's definitely a hot topic because it's at the crypto/AI corner.
Interesting. I just prompted ChatGPT to ask what was the mystery model in. We'll see.
So make no mistake,
On the edge of my
find it out. I think these trading competitions, like I think that's actually super interesting, and like that's something that definitely is kind of like moving the space forward at least a little bit. But like, you're actually like, okay, let's learn what these models are doing, and then kind of like, iterate on the models. Or like if somebody's training like a proprietary model, they could feed the information that like these models are producing during this training, during these runs to the model to like, hey, like don't make these mistakes. Or like, I don't know, like there's like lots of, I don't know, self-referential learning that could happen here. But at the end of the day, I feel like anything, I don't know. In my agent, like we have some agentic workflows internally, and like it goes well, like 80% of the time. But the 20% of the time, when you're just like you have a cron job running and like an agent checks things on like a schedule, usually those things go well, but sometimes it just absolutely craps itself. So like I think, and like you can put as many harnesses and as many stuff as you want. There's model variance. Suddenly Anthropic like throttles the compute that the models actually have, and like the thinking depth that they're able to go to, and then like your whole, like you can't really, I don't know, there's a lot of variability in all of these experiments, and we are trying to like really put them into the harnesses so they can't do anything wrong. But like I feel like everyone is kind of like lots of different fields are trying to figure out how to make these machines think for themselves and on their own with minimal human input over time. But this is like one of many areas in which people are trying to figure this out. And yeah, well, I don't know. It's a very weird future to me, where it's like, this. I always come back to this idea of the robo taxi that just like drives itself around, like pays for its own maintenance, and like does, I don't know, just kind of like leads its own life and transports people around. It's like, it's such a weird, like strange concept, and I don't know. It still feels very far away from me, where like we just have like I don't know, Claude, earn like $1 million, make no mistakes. I mean, like, it's just like so outlandish, and like it would also be like such a strange world where you like imagine you just get an email and it's like it's a fucking agent. Like there's no human behind it. It's just like some autonomous entity that like lives in the Ethernet or something. It's a very strange world we're living in nowadays.
I think it's pretty cool. Well, first of all, the mystery model was Grok 4.2, it would be really cool to have a deeper analysis into like their mind rather than necessarily the outcome, because the outcome here is like, it seems almost more like a random walk, because it's like there's so many things to account for. It's not like a deterministic way to account for, is it actually good? It just won a competition. So it's like I said before, it kind of is like a sperm race. It's like a random event. But if you had like a sample of thousands of the same model doing the competition together and having actual mean between all of them, and also looking into each's brain and seeing who accounted for more things, that would be really interesting to me. Who is really playing 4D chess the best, essentially, and who is accounting for these little things that humans couldn't even have thought of, or I don't know, coming up for new strategies. That's where I would be really impressed, and be more like a an actual, discovery than like cool experiment kind of territory.
Yeah, just open up the discussion a little bit broader. Like, how are you guys feeling like agents' appearance or like existence in your daily life so far yet? Like, workflow wise, for me, it's already been a case like a year ago where like all these research output or like charts, I go through like with ChatGPT and Claude Codex. I was switching between the models when like there were some usage issues. Yeah, and what else? Like I no longer write SQL now. I use Dune MCP. It's crazy. Like everybody been telling me it's crazy. And like, for example, yesterday I was trying to look into user base for Polymarket, and I came up with like 5 to 6, 7 questions. It thought for maybe 11 minutes, like looked through data, looked through tables, and like trying to read some context from what the questions or like the text I was giving, and came up with a whole dashboards with 6 or 8 charts. And I was trying to verify if the quality, right? And so I looked through like what methodology it was using, and it was saying that I'm only taking the taker side only trade to avoid duplicates, because like the trades will be recorded twice for both taker side and maker side, but I'm taking the only taker side, and I'm going to take the maker address as a user wallet. And I was like, wait, why user wallet is the maker address? And it came up with all these like explanation. I think it's because it reads the documentation well. And so the table schema already like noted that like maker would be the user wallet and the taker actually is the exchange wallet. And I verified by hand it was correct. It would have not been intuitive for me as a user. So it didn't really make any mistake, I was assuming. So I'm still verifying through. And yeah, it also did a bunch of things that was like consolidating the tags, right? Like, so there's multiple type of tags for the market type for prediction markets. There's politics, there's science, there's Elon Musk news. It was categorizing with a case when putting Elon into like the tech version of the market. So it was doing pretty good job. So yeah, I'm really fascinated. How are you guys doing the Dune MCP tweaking?
I'm doing a lot of it. I use it a shit ton, and I've got like 4 skills dedicated to how it's being used to account for my specific, SQL writing style. Another one to do some like quality assurance testing once the model's ready, like actually testing if it matches what other sources see, if addresses are going to be 42 bytes long, starting with 0x, like simple things like this, but throughout all the models. And I've made like frameworks for all my models, and now essentially I need to feed it few instructions within each new task. And as long as the input is correct, is really good, and you actually give it a process of how to review its work, it's giving really, really good results. So yeah, it's definitely like the scale of the projects I can tackle is like easily 10 to 100x with these LLMs, and even just maintenance. Now I have like projects that I wanted to tackle but couldn't even think I would be able to do as a solo engineer, but now can take something that would be like a lot of, let's say, DeFi Llama sectors you could tackle much easier than you could have ever done before. Like DeFi Llama has taken a lot of time to curate and put together. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that everything it produces is accurate. So you need to actually have really, really good guidelines of what you want to do. What are your strict quality assurance checks and everything. But it can actually get you much further the way doing the annoying tidbits if you're good at like coordinating, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I won't tout my own horn, or however you say that. Dune MCP is amazing. You guys have given great credentials for this. I can talk about other areas of like, as a product manager, you're like interacting with the whole app essentially at the end of the day. Like you're like, okay, I want this to be surfaced in a data explorer, or like I want this visualization to like look slightly different, or like, hey, we're building these stablecoin whatever collection pages. And it's like, how the fuck can I can I make XYZ work, and how do you frame this together? And it's like so many things just get so much easier, where it's like either like I can do full implementations of like completely absurd things now. It's just like, yeah, you like stitch together a bunch of React components, and it's like you have a website. It's like, this is good enough to like be a POC. And then like if you actually want to, like if this becomes like a fully fledged product, you take an engineer, and the engineer refactors it with like his own army of agents, and like his experience of like how to develop this properly. Or like if it's just some like mock-up or prototype that we're like throwing out there, and it doesn't have actual production value, then it's like, yeah, just ship it. Like what's the problem? I think like especially in my role, it's like a little bit difficult to be like, okay, how much of the stuff do I now do myself versus like try to actually give the context to some engineer. So like there's like so much that I can now do, where it's like, but sometimes I get caught in like, okay, I shouldn't be doing this myself. Like what the hell am I doing? Like this is not, like somebody else can do these tasks like way more efficiently and way better. And just because you can now agentically solve problems, it's like, that doesn't mean that you're actually good at it, or that you have the skill set necessary to be able to judge the output of LLMs. So yeah, it's a brave new world, but basically all my workflows, nothing that I'm doing is not within a terminal, or like a terminal or cursor. Like even writing documents, like Slack messages, I like even meeting summaries, all of this stuff, like it's all just like systems and upon systems of like skills.md and like markdown files and things that like constantly need to get updated. And at the just like you're the master puppeteer of just making things work together.
Besides like my workflow, I felt like there are people who are using all these agentic integration. Like I'm getting some replies on Telegram that's like coming from a bot, or sometimes if they're busy, you're like, oh hey, like I will come back talk to you or something. And sometimes I saw someone who was liking my tweets. Within a second, there was like 7 tweets liked. And there's no way this person is clicking himself, or it's possibly like maybe it's a bot that's curating his feed, or like doing summary. I don't know. But other than that, I don't really feel like in my day-to-day, I've been really leveraging like AI to change my life much yet, or like agentic payments, or like X402 really yet.
Yeah, not yet. I think if you think longer term though, I could see how, let's say later I increase the scope of another analysis and I need weather data for Toronto. I don't know. I can tell like my agent, you have X of budget, like go find different sources and scope out like all this. And once I've chosen the right track, like he can do the thing for me. That could be really good for me. It's not really within the scope of what I'm thinking right now, but maybe it's also because we're thinking too narrow in some areas, and eventually, these unlocks will come. I do think there's definitely a path for it, but I don't know if I need to, order Starbucks through an agent. I don't know if that's gonna change my life. It's more about helping me with the unknowns rather than completely rewriting all the apps I have and how I interact with devices.
I'm always happy if I can, not be in my job and not be on a computer. So like ChatGPT is now agentic to some degree, right? It's not an agent that actually does stuff for you, but it's also like, I feel like the basic form of an agent is just like you give it a search query, and then it like starts collecting sources from the internet, and like it kind of like makes things with like multiple iterations beyond, like between itself. Because like the first iteration of chatbots, if you remember, they would just literally try to one-shot your answer, and that it would always get it wrong pretty much. Or like not always, but like most of the time it would be like very simplistic. And now that they're actually like thinking and like, okay, the user's request is probably this, and like, kind of they're prompting themselves more effectively. I feel like ChatGPT is still running my life essentially, or like Claude, whatever like app I'm using at the moment. So sure, they have like a huge amount of utility beyond my like the actual scope of my work, but most of the things is like they're still just doing things in the internet for me, which is like I need fucking like a furniture for my living room. It's like, okay, what are my options? And like, okay, generate an image of like, how would this look like with like this furniture in my but like there's no special thing. And I think like all of these people who have set up like OpenClaw on their local machines, and like, you know, they have a Mac Mini on their fucking living room now, and like all of the I from the very start, I was like, this is a nerd trap. Like, you're just optimizing essentially nothing. Like, it's cool. Like, it's good to play around with new tech, and like I can see how that's like a pursuit within itself. But like, I think the like total productivity gains that anyone, or like that every OpenClaw user has made from like having OpenClaw and like whatever, having its Telegram connected to some agent and blah blah blah, is less than the time it took them to set all of this up. That might not be the case for every like single one. There's probably super users who are good at this, but at the end of the day, I don't like. What's the point?
I'm about to move places, and once I do, I want to set up a Hermes agent, which is basically OpenClaw, but like a bit more hands-free and much more security first and blah blah blah, whatever. But I want to experiment with it a bit, and I'll report back on my findings and if it's actually useful, or just, you know, people saying it's really cool because it does shit, but it's not really useful shit. So yeah, I definitely want to play around with it and seeing what I can connect to it. And it's an ever moving space as well. So what's true right now may not be true for long, and it, you know, usage may increase, or I mean, use cases may increase over time. So it is worth following that space, I'd say. But it's not for everyone to tweak around and go and connect your emails to everything, or obviously not. Some things are really dumb. But if you know what you're doing, I like tinkering with that kind of stuff.
I thought it's Hermes, as the French would speak as, not Hermes.
I'm trying to... Hermes.
Cool. We have maybe a little bit time to do a vibe check on like how we're doing as an industry, I guess. I don't know if you guys have seen the timeline recently. It's been pretty bearish or like interesting. Like Bankless founder David Hoffman publicly mentioned he sold his last ETH, and Vitalik had a long form post about where he stands with. He like trying to, you know, like maybe get away a little bit more from the operations of the EF. People are arguing about like what the EF should be doing. He kind of admitted that Ethereum as a like asset is one of the biggest product for Ethereum as a blockchain, but kind of restated that like what we care about is the crops, like censorship resistance, privacy, security, all that. Like, curious if there's any reaction from all these, you guys holding your ETH. You don't have to disclose, but yeah, I don't know.
For me, the reaction is more, I guess it's a natural evolution of the EF taking a step back over time. That's like what also a lot of these posts are talking about. It's just that EF was designed to eventually hand off its tasks to the community, and, you know, as a way to handhold the Ethereum development in the first few years, but eventually it's supposed to be a decentralized network where the community fully takes over. And it is what's happening over time, right? They're taking steps back over time. That's why there's the headcount is diminishing. They also said they're gonna spend less ETH. That way they can make that time a little longer, but not necessarily be as proactive on everything, and be more of one amongst many actors that contribute to the blockchain. So I think that's kind of cool, because it's also in a way a sign of the blockchain maturing into what hopefully it's designed to be, which is a fully decentralized protocol. But it's such a weird thing that I don't think any chain is as decentralized as this one, and therefore it is apart from the rest. And if you look at other chains, they have foundations with a shit ton of treasury still, and that's what sets it apart. Is it's not necessarily sitting on as much treasury as people might believe. It's like 0.19%, I think, of all ETH. I do believe from memory. I think that's what they announced in that post. So there's people who hold more by themselves than the EF. So I think it's worth putting into perspective why it's designed. That now, is it bullish or bearish? I don't know. That's up to you to feel. I feel strongly about Ethereum being the decentralized layer of choice for many things. It's obviously not the high throughput chain. It's not good for everything, but it's good for many things, and it serves its purpose pretty well. What do you guys feel?
I think in a very different context, but still very fittingly. I think 2 years ago or something like this, I tweeted like $ETH the asset is dead, long live the EVM. But at that time it was more about like, you know, the proliferation of L2s, which has now decreased to some extent. But if we look at Tempo, if we look at Base, if we look at Binance BNB, the EVM is a super successful standard, and like the EVM did, or like the Ethereum Foundation did very well in creating that. Have they captured the value well with ETH the asset? No. Have they maybe squandered chances to capture more value for ETH the asset? Yes. Are all blockchain L1 tokens at the moment basically just, I mean, meme coins is the wrong word, but the valuations of all L1s is fun, or like Bitcoin excluded. I think Bitcoin is always like, you need to kind of like take under special lens. But if you look at the REV, or like the real economic value that the Solana people were touting for a while, it's like, yeah, the meme coins are done. There's no more REV on Solana either. So it's like, if you take a kind of like standard multiple valuation of like whatever 20x for like high growth startup, then all of these are like completely overvalued. So nothing makes sense, and like you can blame DEF for not having more value capture mechanisms and like L1 value accrual, and I don't know, DeFi, or like the reversed, it's not failed, but like the reversed L2 roadmap kind of, because there's a lot of L2s. Actually, it's worked very well, but it just turns out this was maybe not the right direction to go into. So yeah, very strange times in crypto markets. There's like, it continues to be a local bull market in stablecoins and prediction markets. And if you look at like job offer, like there's job offers, there's an active job market. People are looking for like talented personnel in those specific areas, and in other areas, like people are cutting down workforce, and like things are not going well. It's the age-old evolution, or like I feel like crypto is like very, I don't know. It's not even bipolar. It has like so many different personalities and so many different flavors of the month that it makes it really hard to be a builder in this space, because like every 1 year the market completely changes under your foot. So or like under your feet. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is just the standard like crypto bear market, like bearishness. I feel like are all of these assets are gonna make a comeback? Probably not. Is ETH the asset kind of cooked? Yes, at the moment, but I think we were here like 3 years ago, and then Tom Lee came out of the whatever. I don't know where he came from, but he came onto the scene, and suddenly there was like a lot of ETH. How were these instrument calls? What Sailor's doing?
That's
yeah, ETH. There was ETH digital asset treasury companies, and everyone was allocating to ETH, and then ETH, I mean, it barely got to 4,500. I don't think it even broke its prior like all-time high. But anyways, all to say, ETH is a very relevant network. It still has the most stablecoin volume, the most like big money transactions happen on ETH. So I wouldn't count it out. But yeah, holding the asset, I think, is a difficult decision at the moment. But it has been in the past, so it's not news.
I agree that like a lot of these sentiments are just like bear market vibe, and like it's very discounted by the current market cycle. And there's also a lot of uncertainty right now in the markets, where money are all in AI, talents are in AI. It just doesn't feel good for a lot of people. I feel like though I might have like a little bit contrarian take or feeling, is that ETH as an asset might be okay, like in the long term. But like I do feel like maybe there hasn't been as much like innovations or new application that proven to stay for EVM or like even on Ethereum. payments, like stablecoin, seems to be the biggest case still. And there is a case to be made where it's like globally, like 24/7 low fee transaction. It can still revolutionize the whole financial system, and there's more RWA banks are coming in there. So I feel like there's momentum on that use case. But what about all the other use cases? Like DeFi was cool. But it's also like a huge playground with a lot of these like risks that nobody understands well. Like we talked about the Aave CalpDAO hack where nobody even pay attention to that like configuration of the layer 0 bridge. And there's probably a lot of vulnerability like that as well. Like the Open Zipling CEO was talking about like, oh, DeFi are unsafe. Might be an overstatement, but probably not untrue. Like I'm sure there will be things to be found over the next months or so. But yeah, and then on top of that, whatever the applications that kind of took traction are gambling applications, including prediction markets, arguably, like legally, maybe not, but like kind of like for serving the similar purpose for humanity. I don't know. But yeah, like I think the ETH as an asset though is probably like established enough to stay. Like I can't see one day Ethereum with all these people have the stake in the game just become zero. Like there's like ETH might retire to become like a silver. I don't know. Like Bitcoin is a gold, and there's always people buying gold, but there's also always people buying silver. And Ethereum like goes after Bitcoin seems to be like a good asset, good enough asset to put money in. Like imagine after all the AI IPOing, right? Like XAI, like SpaceX and Anthropic and OpenAI, a lot of money gonna pour into those. But after those, it's probably gonna be the peak of like this AI stocks market, and people may come back to look at crypto as another good asset to invest money in. So there might be a comeback for the asset.
People think about ETH by itself, but if you zoom out and look at other blockchains, is there any others that you think is like completely outrunning ETH in terms of the value it provides as an L1 token? The only one I could think of maybe when it's not in terms of market cap, but in terms of streamlining what its usage is probably like Hyperliquid, but that's more because it's defined to a specific, tailored to a specific usage rather than like a decentralized asset blockchain. I think ETH is doing really well as an asset relative to other L1 tokens, essentially. So if you put it in that lens, it's just the crypto market is not doing great in general. But if you zoom out, relative to the rest, it's doing pretty all right.
Yeah. I almost categorize Hyperliquid similar to like meme coin trading and like similar. I feel like Hyperliquid and Solana are serving that type of use case. They're faster, they're higher performance. But Ethereum is needed for serious finance or like for the security it provides for the scale of like stablecoin and like.
I think Hyperliquid is serious finance.
But it's it's like a centralized backend.
Yeah, but it's whatever the rails it's on. That's not. I mean, and decentralized. That's another debate. But like I think it's pretty serious project, much more than Pump.fun.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, Pump.fun is serious too. Like people are like trading meme coins and pretty.
Yeah. No, it's to each their lens. But to me, I'd say Hyperliquid is much more of a future inclined project.
Yeah, it's more credible. The team is known and serious. So
I think with that, we call it for this week's episode. You've listened to the Index Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Crypto data wizards, come join us for the parade. From Bitcoin ETF to Solana meme coin trade. Uncovering public secrets in the blockchain shade. Bad chiller, cherry picking liar. We call them out and set chart crime on fire. Index Podcast, crypto data